I appreciate you taking the time of jumping on, but we are going to talk about how you can add email in and how you're missing out on business by being able to ditch the ordinary and really make innovating email and make it easy for you guys to implement. A little bit about me is my name's Laura. I'm licensed here in Maryland. Been licensed just for about 9 years. I have a small leverage team. We've sold over 200 homes throughout the career. We average about 10 million per year, which is about 22 to 25 homes per year. We are very focused on database, on purposeful database touches, community events, and events for the past clients. And then, of course, I really upped my email game and have just seen a huge results from that, which is why I'm passionate about it and I'm excited to share. So today, what you're going to walk away with is we are going to talk a little bit about why email. Does anyone have any reservations about email? Do you like email? Do you think that people look at emails like, I see, Martha, you're shaking your head. You don't like email?
No, I like emails, but I think a lot of times people see who it's from and just ditch it.
Yes, very true. So that's why we're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about why and kind of the mindset around it. And then we're going to jump into the basics, but really like talking about your audience, which is, our database and buyers and sellers, but how to break down your audience so that you are delivering them content. And you'll hear me say it a few times, but Netflix style. It's really important that we are getting the emails to them that they actually want, and we can make it really easy on what they want. And then we'll end with just really being purposeful and saving time. And my goal really is for you to end this class and be confident and excited to write your first email to send it out within a week is what I want you to be able to get out of it. So I want to talk about how email, some people think, email has gone, some have not. Like, it's definitely not dead. I had my reservations probably around it. I knew that it was important in a way, but I also didn't understand the how to. And so what's interesting is that marketing trends will always rise and fall. And like my favorite example right now is social media. So, with social media, they were like, hey, you can market and find your true buyers and sellers with curated, beautiful Canva photos. Like, this is what you need to do, Canva images. And then they're like, oh, no, actually you need to do some videos. Let's do short videos into reels. Okay. So then you nail that. And then they're like, well, actually we want you to lip sync. And then they're like, no, we don't want you to lip sync. Actually, we want you to do just household things and put really great content with it. So now, though social media is a consistent marketing that works, you're constantly having to change how you do it. And what's nice is there's one marketing that has been consistent, and I bet you can guess what it is. It's email marketing. It is consistent when you are very purposeful about your audience and when you're sending them what they want to hear. So hopefully that was a little switch in your mindset. So I'd love to hear from one of you. I know I can see Martha, but if Jason or other person who has joined us wants to jump in, I'd love for someone to come off mute and tell me what is one of your favorite stores to shop at. And I don't want it to be Amazon.
That's tough. 99% is Amazon for me, I think.
Does anybody have another store that they like?
How about Lowe's?
Okay, Lowe's might work. Do you get emails from Lowe's?
Yes.
Okay. Do you open up all those emails from Lowe's?
It depends on what they say in the little header.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Do you get mad that they're sending you an email?
No, I get mad when you get 2 to 3 a day.
But do you
unsubscribe? 1 or 2 a week.
Have you unsubscribed?
I have from a lot of things, and I've gotten more than I
just Lowe's. Did you unsubscribe from Lowe's?
No.
All right, so they did it right. So that's the perfect example that you signed up for it at some point. You do get your emails, but you don't open up all of them unless they catch your attention or that information was needed. And you're not too mad if they're sending you too many because you're not unsubscribing. And so that is your goal of email, that no, not every buyer or seller is going to open up that email. And the percentage is actually, I think 50% is the average, like maybe even 46. They're not, but the whole goal is to really stay top of mind. And so when you talk about why email marketing helps you, it's for all these reasons. Like, one, it builds trust because people are going to see it repeatedly in their inboxes. It helps create a brand recognition. Even if it is just your name, like, you are a brand. Like, don't forget that. You don't necessarily need the logo and the colors, and those benefit you, but like, You are the brand. And then by staying in front of them, it helps you with repeat business, referral business. But my favorite one, you can see I starred, was the timely opportunity. And so what's awesome about this is you actually have no idea who in your database is going to be ready to sell or buy. And so we're doing our best job of trying to stay in front of them, trying to stay in contact with them. But this is how email helps you, because you're going to stay top of mind. And so when you send out the most recent email of maybe inviting them to the event, it's really great when you get the email of, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you reached out because we're wanting to sell this spring and we've been meaning to call you. And so that's where it's that timely opportunity, and it just helps you stay top of mind where you're going to find your business. It gives you a competitive edge right now, because I guarantee, and I know agents are leaving this off the table. And we're changing that. All right. That's why you're in this room and you're going to adapt it. But agents are not doing this at a high level, and it's not that complicated. We're overcomplicating it, and I'm going to make it simple for you. And then, of course, it provides a personal connection when done correctly. So the first part that I got to stick with my notes and make sure I got everything. Okay. So I did that. All right. So the most important part is your audience, which is your buyers and sellers. But the reason why your audience is so important is because your messaging is going to go to what your audience wants to hear. So I love to tell this story, but do you know, yes, I'm a Stanley girl. I was a Stanley girl a couple of years ago before all this even crazy additional hype came about. Does anybody know the story behind Stanley?
Nope.
Great. I'm going to tell you in 2 seconds. Okay. This is what's interesting about the audience, is that Stanley, I have their notes in front of me, came out in 110 years ago. They came out. Their audience was men in the workforce and hiking. And in 2019, they had $75 million in sales. Now, I don't know everything, so you can cross-check my information. They were either like business was going down or something. But what I do know is that this women influencer loved these cups and ended up somehow getting in contact with them saying, women love this, let's collaborate. And the Stanley was like, okay, fine. We'll try a new audience, which was women. And they changed the coloring. They marketed to women. And from 2019 to now 2023, they have $750 million in sales this year. And I love that story because they've been around, they were successful, but their audience was wrong. The audience was a female, like it just was. No offense, if you have a Stanley, maybe you have the manly with no handle, but I have the handle. And so that's why your first step in email is really understanding who your audience is so that you can give them the right contact and have your own Stanley story. It's one of my favorite stories.
Shalene Johnson. I was trying to figure out who that influencer was.
I actually don't know who it was. I've read a few things about it, but I mean, it was mind blowing to me when they told me the sales difference when it switched. All right. So you're going to think about your audience, and then that's where it goes to, you have to separate them into groups, because you can think of Netflix. So when I pull up my Netflix and I like to watch crime shows. And so it's going to tell me a crime show. Is that crime episode just for me? No. It's for everybody in Netflix who likes crime shows. So that's what you're doing with your emails. And so you're grouping them to who needs to hear this information. It's more than one person that wants to watch a crime show. It's more than one person that needs to know what's going on with interest rates, what needs to go on to how to sell your house, whatever information that you have. It's more than one person. But if you group them properly, then you're reaching the right audience. And that's where we're going to start. So when you're getting ready to get your emails, I like to call them segments. You can call them groups. But you're going to start figuring out who they are. And so there's the 3 steps that we're going to dive into. And just like anything, everything here I'm teaching, I have been building for over a year. I'm giving you the tools to get started, and you're going to build from there. So I'm going to have you start with 1, and then you can go to 2 and 3 because you can rewatch this or take pictures. But we have the who is really important. We have the location that can be really helpful. And then we have their lifestyle and interest. So I want to unpack that. Who is really easy, right? Who's our audience? Buyers, sellers, renters, because they might become buyers. And then if you work with investors. The nice thing about this is everyone here from EXP? Yes, no, yes, yes. Okay. So are you all using KB Core?
Yes.
Okay, so this is already in there. The buyer, seller, and the renter and the investor is already a group for you. So you have to make sure you're labeling your contacts the right way. And you don't need to go into your database. I mean, they should already be flagged, but you don't need to go in and start like overly organizing your database. You actually just really want to get started. And one of the easiest ways to do that is there's 26 letters in the alphabet. Start with 2 letters a week. And in 3 months, you will have kind of scrubbed all the people and you've categorized them correctly. It's completely fine if you send out 10 emails to a buyer and then next month you realize you actually have 20, right? Like we all start from somewhere and you want to build. So your who should be split here. And then we're going to take it just a step farther. If you've been in the business for a little while, you definitely have sphere, you have VIP clients, you might have past clients. These are my actual groups. So if you want to screenshot it, these are the easiest ones that I feel like I communicate with all the time. I like to know those that have referred. And then I do have new leads. For me, my new lead is if I hosted an open house and they gave me their information, but I haven't had any additional two-way conversation, or if I choose to do any kind of social media or squeeze pages, that's what I consider my new lead, and I campaign them a little bit differently. And then I host community events, so I want to know how I met them and at what event. So those are important kind of like tags to me. So in KV Core, you either be able to label them, and then when they don't have that label, you create a hashtag because that's how you can run that report. Any questions on the who?
Yeah, I got a question. So traditionally we have been taught to do A, B, and C. And when I'm coaching people, I'm like, that's just not enough. Because I even will put business owner.
Yeah, I have women in business. So the A, B, and C list, I don't know how you work that. From what I heard, that was like either trying to reach them or like certain pop buys. So like January, you're doing this, and then February, you're doing this, and then
Well,
March.
the idea is the A's are like people you know, like, and trust.
Oh, yes.
And they've sent business or you've done business with them before. The B's are people like, you know, maybe you don't totally like them or you don't have a really good relationship, but you could. And then C's are people just in your database. But I like what you're doing because A, B, and C is just is way too general.
Yeah, but you bring up a really good point. So like of looking at it differently, like this is just the way I do it. You need to know who that group is. So if you are doing ABC and still teaching it, that's actually okay. When you create your email and your content, you now get to ask, who am I sending this to? And is it your A, B, and C? Then you're fine. Or if it's like, nope, I just really want this to my top people, I'm just sending it to A. So it still works as long as you can understand how you're grouping them. And if they need that information, you're good to go.
But I also like where you said, if there's not a category, then you put a hashtag. So that's
Yes.
key. That is gold.
Yeah, because
it's
like
more about
they don't have sphere as an option. I don't know like what you call them, but they don't have sphere. And so I don't really necessarily want to send them seller tips or like, hey, my seller, I just saved my seller X amount by having them update this, like whatever the content is. I need to know that it's a sphere or database kind of content that I need to send them. So that's why I have them hashtagged out. Any more questions on the who of getting started? Okay, so this is step 1, and this is really all that you need to focus on. Eventually, you can build it from there, and everybody works at their different speed. So what you can do is you can get nitty gritty, like I already have, and you can even go a little bit deeper. So in your business, if you're currently doing something where maybe you're attracting a lot of first-time home buyers, whether it's the seminars or however you're doing it, and you need to group them together, create a segment. Maybe you're really good at new construction or downsizing. And so like for me, I have local community. I live in a small town that's next to the big city. And so that's where I host my events. So anybody I meet, I hashtag them with Walkersville, which is the city, because if I want to communicate something that's going on in Walkersville or it's an event, I can easily find those people. If you're farming, downsizing, basically anything that you're doing in your business where you actually want to talk to them frequently, you want to put it to a group. Now, I even went nitty gritty to the lifestyle, and this is kind of up to you. Like, you don't need to know if 2 or 3 people hike if you're not going to actively talk about it or send them something. But like sometimes I feel like I meet people, like I do like women masterminds, like with women in business. So I have a women in business hashtag because I want to be able to email them. And remember, as you can see, you're like, well, what about real estate? Our whole goal is to stay in front of people and remind them in real estate. So if you have some really good information that you can give them, it may or may not be real estate related, but your branding or that you're a realtor is still getting in front of them. Or you can even hashtag like kids and pets, because if you know about a new dog park coming to town, you're able to tell them. If you know about a new park for the kids, like that's getting really small and nitty gritty, but I want to let you know you can go that deep. Any questions on kind of grouping them together? Does that all kind of see it and you get it and it makes sense and we're good to go? Okay. So now we know who our people are, right? Like we have them and you guys have categorized them and you're like, great, I'm going to type up an email and you're like, what the heck am I going to send them? I'm not a content creator. Is that anybody here? Yeah, I will say I do have a creative brain, so I do get some ideas kind of flowing. However, I'm going to make it super easy for you guys that you actually already have the content built within you. So there's a couple things that you can do. The first thing is, who are you looking to attract? And you can build your content around that. So kind of similar, like if you were looking to get more into new builds, like let's create some content where I'm trying to get new prospects that are going to want this information. It's called like a lead magnet. And I'm going to dive into that. But you have, or you can reverse it and you can be like, I have this awesome content that I want to share. Who needs to hear it? And so like for a perfect example, I met with a lender last week and we were just catching up on things. We were, caught up where the interest rates are, where they're going. He told me about some programs that some money's coming available in February. He gave me great information. I wanted to blast this out. And so I created an email, and who did I send it to? My buyers. I sent it to my buyers to let them know that $15,000 would be available for them in February. If they're thinking about making a move, they could get the jump earlier before spring market. So you have two ways. You can either think of your audience and you can go to Chat GPT and you can say like, what I want to write an email to this kind of audience, like what's something that they want to hear. Or when you're like, I have an idea and I want to send it out, you have the power of deciding who that goes to. So of course, we're going to just start with our buyers and our sellers and our past clients and our database. So I'm curious here, who has a buyer and seller presentation? Do you guys have one? Yes. Anybody else? No? No, you don't. Okay, well, this is your sign that you can get one. If you already have the buyer seller presentation, there's all your content. You're actually going to take that presentation and you're just going to duplicate that information and you're going to make it into 8 to 10 emails. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to come up with anything new. You're just using the content because they need to hear that. We all know when we get a buyer or a seller, especially a buyer, we have to nurture them. They're kind of ready. They're kind of not ready. So let's get in their inbox every 7 to 10 days with, hey, here's what to expect from a home inspection. Hey, what's an earnest money deposit? Because it's keeping in front of them. It's giving them value and information, whether they're opening it or not. But it's helping them. So you have that content built within you. Now, I will say with KV Core, I'm not as familiar with their campaigns that they have or their presentation that they have. So if you're wanting to do it through KV Core, you just need to really look at the campaigns, and we'll kind of like, I have a screening process of like, is this a good email or not? And I can help advise. I personally have switched off the KV platform, because that's the cool thing about email is that it's really inexpensive. So I do pay for an email format, and I'm going to show you both. I just find that it's much easier to work with than KV Core. So that was just a business decision that I made. So here's your audience. You can say like, what do they need to hear? I mean, buyers need to know either what's going on in the market, they need to know how they can save money, or they need to know how they can buy a house. What do sellers need to hear? We overcomplicate what we think that we need to tell them. What do sellers need to hear? They need to know the updates that they need to sell their house for top dollar. They need to know their value. What do past clients need to hear? They could know about what you're doing, what's going on in the market, or maybe if you're hosting events or things like that. And then your database ads, that's the lead magnet, which we'll jump into. So your lead magnet is basically saying, I have something of value, or I have some information that I want you to have in exchange for your email. That's what a lead magnet is. And what's really neat about this is that with email, when you have all this content within you, you now can be using this information when you meet a buyer, when you meet a seller, when you're at an open house. Like, great, I have some really great buyer tips that help you get started. What's the best email? And I'll send that to you. You're going to send them your buyer tips that you've completed within your campaign. The two easy ones, is anybody using the market update in KV Core?
I've taught people how to use that. It's so good.
So that's where I started. It's easy and it's already in your system. So if you're not using the market update, that's already an email that can go out. You can choose, I would say, once a month, and you don't have to do anything. So I did move over to HomeBot. Is anyone familiar with HomeBot? Okay, so I love HomeBot. I switched last year and it's amazing because it's strictly about their house versus necessarily what's going on in the neighborhood. And again, HomeBot hit it out of the park. It's Netflix style. It's their house. It's how long they've been in it. It's their loan. It's how much they owe. It shows if they're likely to sell. It shows them what they could do if they could refinance. It shows them how they could pull equity out. This email goes out. I have had only one unsubscribe, and I think it's because they didn't know that it was from me. And I should have said, hey, this is information that I'm giving you. The open click rate is amazing. And again, this is an email I don't have to draft. Like, it's done for me. So your first step in sending out emails is really getting people on those drip campaigns of the market update in KV Core. That's where I started. It's fine. People get it. I even had a past client who actually was in real estate at one point, thought they were all my listings that I was sending her. She was like, wow, you've been really busy. And I was like, I have. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then she's like, selling all those houses. And I was like, oh, no, those aren't all mine. It's like, I'm just keeping you updated with the market. Like, they tell their own story. So you want to do some kind of market update or home valuation because that's really helpful to get them going. And then, of course, I had already talked about the seller tips and the buyer tips. Now, I say newsletter, but we all hate that word and we're not going to use that, okay? But everybody knows what it is. And so newsletter is really just figuring out information that you can send them that keeps you in front of them. So like, what does that look like? If I host events. I'm not sure if anyone else here hosts events, or even if like you're hosting drives with charitable engagement, this is a great way. Those are emails that are going in front of them. I invited a seller prospect to my Easter egg hunt and I got a reply back. Oh, our kids are out of the household, but this is so great that you're doing this for the community. Thanks for the invite. So like, it's another way to stay in contact with them without always being real estate. And again, like, she got it, she opened it, she's not coming, but she appreciated it. A charitable engagement, actually, this is an email I'm going to show you guys here at the end so you have a visual. But I decided that my girls were a part of Girl Scouts before and they no longer are this year. So I decided to still support the troop. And I sent it out to my past clients, to my prospects, and then I decided to add the Walkersville group that I met in December. And I said, hey, have a free Girl Scout cookie on me. And so this way it's a $5 to $6 pop by. They're actually choosing to pick that they want it. In my, I have a Google form for them to fill out. And of course I asked if they had any real estate needs or if they know anybody looking to buy or sell. This is an email that they're getting. I got a text message today. Hey, that's so nice of you that you're buying us Girl Scout cookies. I'm like, great. I just sent it out today. So I'm like starting to get all the feedback from it. But it's a great way, again, of just getting in front of them. And then of course you have market updates. You do want to tell a story versus just like giving facts about what the market is doing. And when you don't know how to do that, we have the great tool of ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT all the time just to get rolling and how to say things. And then someone from the last class said it was funny. He's like, what about articles? And so interesting articles, if you're subscribing to anything that you feel is relevant and that you want to send out to the audience that you get to choose. A great way of doing that is really kind of highlighting the part that you thought was most beneficial and then allowing them that link to go read the full article. Because at the end of the day, we don't want long, lengthy emails. We just want to give some really good short information. And if they choose to get more, then they can link. So this is really where you want to get started. I'm going to go back one, but like, don't overcomplicate it with content. Start here. And then you're going to build, because once you start doing stuff, it starts making sense. And then you start getting ideas. And then you're like, oh, that's an email. Who should I send that to?
I have something to add about the newsletters, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
If you're with KV Core or you're with EXP, you can go into EXP and they already have 12 newsletters already there for you on how to save money on water, how to keep your pets safe. One is a charcuterie board. It literally takes 2 seconds to put your face in there, and they even have your phone number and everything already pre-programmed, and you already have a newsletter for a month.
Is
And
that in
go ahead.
is that in marketing?
In marketing, and it's under newsletters.
Okay.
Okay. And that's a perfect example. When you take a look and you see what that newsletter is, you need to decide like who my audience wants to read this, because maybe not everybody wants to know how to save on water, but you're like, ooh, this charcuterie board is a really good idea. I could send it, to a lot of women that I know, or I do want to send it to everybody. You have to be like a little careful with the newsletters that are done, because they're usually a little too generic. So that's why I wouldn't necessarily send it to everybody. But when you have your group specific, you can be like, oh, this is really good information that, because you can definitely kind of copy, duplicate, and kind of change around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and this is what you can do when you want to say, should I send this email? You take a screenshot of this if you want. This is what you want to ask yourself. So like if it's a newsletter that's already done, or if it's that campaign that's already done, just take a look. Like, are you enjoying reading this? Like, do you find it interesting? Is it easily consumable? Like, can you say something in less verbiage? And is it, quick and informative versus long and boring? So this is how you can screen when people are like, I don't know if people want to hear this. I don't know if I should email it out. Well, like, do you? Like, if you don't want it, then let's work with your content. Let's like switch it up a little bit. The only one is maybe like the buyer and the seller, like we are so knowledgeable because we know it, but they're not. So you have to know that your audience wants to hear that, because we're just in it all the time. But this is a great way to say, is this email really good? Any questions there? So we have our audience, and then we broke it down to the content, which I know I kind of went through quickly. Like, do you kind of understand, like, do you feel like you have ideas of like what you could send and kind of understand it? Is there anything I can unpack there or answer any questions? Okay, so you're either collecting the emails or you have the emails, and then you're working on, what does my audience want to hear and how can I create that content? And then you're deciding who you're delivering it to. So this last part, it's a little nitty gritty, stick with me, is we're going to design it. So now this can take place in KV Core. It can take place in Gmail, and it can take place, I use Flowdesk, which I'm going to show you. So I want to talk real briefly about these so you can understand why they're important. And then I'm going to share my screen again and jump into the email so you can see it in action. So again, I put it down in stages. Like, you don't have to have these beautiful curated emails, just get started. So your stage one here is, of course, I think Martha said it, but an eye-catching subject line. If you say, my last name's Malec, so if I say the Malec Group newsletter, it's probably not going to get opened. But if I said, did you hear, how I say, did you hear how this seller saved this buyer saved $15,000? That's probably going to get opened. So what you can do is two things. One is start paying attention. Like, you chose to be in this class, so you have some interest in email. So start paying attention to the emails that are catching your attention, the ones that you're clicking, the ones that you're not. Rip off and duplicate, use it for your own. Go to Chat GPT, say like, what's a hook? What's a question? But basically, you're just trying to make it a little interesting, and it's not too complicated with the resources that we have to get it creative. Usually if you ask a question, is a good one. So, like, what was the, I don't know, or like try to like, you can say like, be funny. So you can jump on Chat GPT and be like, I'm sending out an email about the charcuterie board. What's a funny saying about like meat and cheese or something like that? Because again, you're just trying to create, what is this? And then open it up. And then in that email, you want to emphasize the most important information. So like we talked about, if you had that whole article that you wanted to read, you're not going to retype all that, but you are going to say, I was reading an interesting article. This caught my eye. It was this sentence specifically. Read more. Here's the article to read more. But what you can do is either like headlines, which you can make the font bigger in any of these email platforms, subheadings, making them a little bit smaller. putting things into bullets so they can easily see it, or highlighting the words that you want them to see, which then leads us to white space. So white space is extremely important in emails and if you are on Facebook or even Instagram, but the white space really helps a person read it and digest the information. So like if you gave me a long paragraph and I see it and it's not broken up, I check out and I'm not reading it. But if you break it into 2 to 3 sentences, even if it doesn't make sense, don't worry about the grammar or how it should be all one paragraph. When you break it down, I read it and I read it and I read it. And if you're keeping me engaged, I'll finish it. And if you didn't, I may move on and nothing's going to be perfect. But spacing out and having it have the white space is really important. So again, in KV Core, Gmail, or Flowdesk, space it out and you'll see it in my examples. And then the one thing that we forget, the whole point of these emails is to get business, right? Like we're trying to stay up top of mind, but hey, please contact us if you know something. You need to add a call to action because we as consumers and people, we need to know what to do. So whatever your email is, like if it's about the loan one, call me today so we can talk about numbers, call today to set up a buyer consult, call me today to set up a seller consult. If you know anyone that's looking to make a move, please let me know. But some kind of call to action to always remind them that you're in real estate and that they're like, how do I get, reply to this email if you have more questions, anything like that. And again, if you're not as familiar with the call to actions or what to say, you'll start seeing them now, right? Like, because if I said red truck, you'll see a red truck tomorrow. So you'll start seeing them. Or again, just take everything that I'm saying and go to Chat GPT and they'll give you ideas. So that is the most important piece of an email, whether you are writing it or using one that's pre-formatted. Please try to adjust it like this. And that way your content is being read. So we'll jump into stage 2. The thing that helps you is consistent branding. So again, even if you don't have a set branding, if you're using EXP colors, that's your brand. Consistently use that. If you happen to have a logo or the way you sign your name, this is just a way to elevate your branding. It is really key. You can start adding in quality visuals because that's just what helps the consumer. They don't necessarily want to read all the time. They want like a fun picture. And then of course, you want to personalize the email. And what's awesome is KV Core does that. So you can send out a mass email and it'll say, hi, Laura, or whoever the person is. Flowdesk does this. And then I just learned yesterday that Gmail does this too. They just updated it. So if you're wanting to send out, blind copy to 20 some people in your Gmail, you are able to have it be addressed by each individual. And I had no idea you could do that. So, and then lastly, there's of course 3 steps. You can upgrade it if you're wanting to use some software. So again, I want you to walk away with using what you have, but do understand that there's other platforms that could work. You can Google them, but the most popular ones are Flotus, Convert, Constant Contact, and you can design things in Canva. And like all my pictures, unless they're me, are from Unsplash. They're stock photos and I think they're nice. So I hope you enjoy them. But everything is really at your tool. So I want to switch screens and I just gave you a lot of information, but let's go be visual and go see what I did on the email and we'll see what questions come up. All right, so we're putting it all together. So I mentioned that, so this is Flowdesk, and I mentioned that I sent out the Girl Scout cookie email. So I just want you to see, like you can see how it has my branding. Claim your free Girl Scout cookies was the subject line. Like, yeah, who doesn't want free Girl Scout cookies? An image. And then here's where it wrote, like, see how I have white space? You can see here how we colored other things so that it stood out. And I want to point out there's 3 times. Quick form, claim your cookies, and claim your free box. 3 times I did a call to action to get their cookies. That is what the consumer needs. So do it in the beginning, do it in the middle, and do it at the end. So if they get all the way through, they're claiming their free box. Now, you can see how this is spaced out. I'm going to show you. You can do it in Gmail too. Now, Flowdesk is cheap. It's in my budget. I don't want to say it was like $30 a month for Flowdesk. But I don't want you to tell me that's going to stop you because here's the email in Gmail. Here it is. I spaced it out. You can do any kind of forms and then link them down here, and anything that I'm doing, you can Google. I don't want to get too nitty gritty. I'm just proving to you that it can be done in many email formats. And the form is just a Google form. That's all that it is. Again, here, I just made it bigger. There's a cookie, little header. I was able to copy and paste, so you can always go to another platform to create the boxes and stuff if you want it for a visual. Otherwise, that just doesn't need to be there. So you can do it through Gmail as well. Show you another one I had. So this was, again, so you have your content, your email, and then you decide your audience. So this one was talking about buyers while they were on the fence and how buying in Q1 would be the best time. And I just thought that's what it would be. I went to Chat GPT to give me some talking points, and then I just simplified the email from there. So is now the best time to buy your dream home? I asked a question. I find if you ask questions, they're like, I don't know, is it? And they might open up your email. And then I just talked about a little bit about a story about how to purchase their home. Is it a good time to do before spring? But again, here you can kind of see how I space everything out. And then I went to bullet points and how they could protect themselves. And then I ended with a call to action. Schedule a call, and then got in front of them. And then
I like how you put the photos on the top, because I put photos on the bottom of my emails.
So the top is good, or even in the middle is good. And bottom's fine too, but top or bottom, yeah. People like visuals. So
Yeah.
and here I'm kind of just showing you different content, right? Because we talked about emails, and it's like, well, how does this format into an email? I want to show you. I did one to my database for cookies. I did this one for all my buyers, and then I did a an event. So it was a Santa event, and they could get a solo sew. That's how I got their email. And so here again, the winner is, and that's again, what's the subject line? The winner is, of course, they want to know if they won or not. Says their name. Thanks for coming to the Santa. It showed pictures. I showed me. There's my personal connection and my family. Even used a funny little GIF or whatever. Congratulations. And then they do need to reflect your personality. As you can tell, I'm bubbly and I like to be fun. So hold your reindeer, don't take off yet. Matched my brand. So you want to be you in the email. And I was like, hey, do you want the free home report? Because I got their email, and now I'm seeing if they want a market update. So I sent that there with a call to action, get your home report here, call to action, and then I signed off. So those
Where
are the
your lead pages going? So when they click on those, I mean, that one was a Google form, but getting your home report, does it go into your FlowDesk?
This goes to, it depends on the email. So for me personally, so you can have it linked up to go somewhere, or if you could do a Google form. So let's do an easy way. You could just do a Google form, say schedule a call today, and your Google form could literally be the name, number, best time of day to be reached, and what do you want to discuss? So you can do it the free way through a Google form. Basically, you just want them to say, hey, I want you to call me. My links go to, I use Calendly so that they can schedule accordingly. So that's where that link goes. And then this one goes to HomeBot directly so that they can go look, put their address in, and then add their email. Yep. Otherwise, yeah, that's the two, because it's book a call. And if you don't want to do Google form, it's reply. That's still a call to action. Reply to this email so we can set, an appointment up. Yes.
Where do you find Google Forms?
I can show you real quick. You just go to your dots up here, and you can go to Drive. You can just, here's all your dots, and here's forms. And then you can create your own, or they have options for you. So I can show you. They come like generic. So they come like that. You can change the color. I don't want to make it look too fancy. You can have just whatever color that they have, and then you can add whatever you want to add. There's an add button, and I'm sure, I don't want to get too in the nitty gritty. You can Google it, I'm sure, to see how to do a form, but this is where it's so easy. So I can show you, it's so easy to do that. And it's so easy to make yourself look more professional. So I'm still free system. I went to Canva to create an image, support the Girl Scouts. And then I did the information I wanted. So name, last name, address, what kind they wanted, how could I help them? Those are the 5 questions that I asked. And then do they know anyone looking to make a move? So sometimes I get something, sometimes I don't. That's what I'm playing around with. But I also know my goal was to stay. It's my touch. I like to do some kind of pop by at least quarterly. So this was my quarterly pop by for them. And it wasn't just me dropping something off. They actually have to request the cookie.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. And then I want to copy something really quick. I can show you, I'll show you really quick. The reason why I like FLOTUS is because this is just a test email and it spaces things out for you. So you can see I'm right down here. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to add my next thing. And this is how easy it is to add, like that email that I showed you. It's so easy to add an image, your logo, a video, text, link, this button that you see, like it's literally all there. It's so easy to add and you just move on. Like they make their emails so ridiculous. So I'm not saying you have to go to Flowdesk. I just want to show you, start with what you have, but that's why I moved that way because it was just way less work with formatting. And then I want to copy this real quick.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Is Flowdesk a CRM as well? And if not, who do you use for your CRM?
I use KV Core. So everybody goes into my KV Core, and that is my CRM where I have them into their groups: buyer, seller, prospect, renter, investor. And then I have my hashtags to understand them a little bit deeper if I want to send out the emails. So I have like, I don't know, 800 to 900 in KV Core, but I have 200 to 300 in my Flowdesk. Like I decided which groups were coming over of who I wanted to email. And what's nice about KV Core is it's so easy for me. You can add it at any time. So like, because I tagged women in business, I can run that report, download it. It goes into a CVS file, and then I can quickly dump it into Flowdesk. So it's super easy. And then I have them in groups and I can, for a visual, let's see. Let me see if I can pop it up real quick.
Yeah,
So
I think this is good because I think the thing with using different platforms, people are confused, right? Like if you use this one for email and use this for this. So my question is when you send an email out of Flowdesk and they reply back, they're basically
that goes to
replying
my email.
What
So
was
like
it?
Flowdesk is just a platform to make it look pretty. If they email me back, it goes to my email.
Okay, perfect. All right, just want to make this.
But the goal, if you're going to Flowdesk, the goal is to not really for them to reply back. It's to click those links. So you kind of want the systems, but you can start with KV Core with your white space headlines and make sure you have your call to action. You can start with Gmail with the same thing, reply to email, call to actions. And then if it's taking too long or you're not getting where you want to get, then you could come to a ConvertKit, Constant Contact, or Flowdesk. But you can see here, like I'm playing around with segments, but you can see how I have cold buyer leads, like I'm changing them if they referred, seller, buyer. But basically it's like who I want to email is who I took from KV Core. But you want to start in KV Core. You want to group in KV Core and then decide if you want to choose to bring them somewhere else. Does that clear that up?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then one last thing, I know KV Core has lead pages. Sounds like your lead pages are in different areas depending on what you're doing. Do you use pages from KV Core?
Yes. Yeah, I mainly use their squeeze page.
Okay.
For listings. I use that one all the time because my goal is to get emails. Yep. So, and that again, like, hopefully we're there. Like it's a lot of information taking in, but like start with what you have and build from there. So like use KV Core and the squeeze pages, get emails, get them on market updates. Like I did that for the longest time. Like I just switched it this last year, to a different platform where they were getting it just because again, the information was a little bit prettier. But at the end of the day, my email has always been working because I've always been able to get in front of them. I just decided to make it better and better each year. So the last thing, I'm going to put this article in the chat, but what was really interesting is the next thing you can be about emails is you're like, well, what should I write in the subject line or when should I send it? And this information was so interesting. It's from Flowdesk, but I wanted to show you because it's not my data. About half of the people open it up, but here, look at this. The open rate is It's the same. Your open rate is less than 50%. So if you're ever able to get to the analytics, which I guess I'll go back to my slideshow. And then what day should you send it? Well, you could send it Friday, but I mean, look at it. They're all like the same. So don't hold back on sending an email. Whatever day, just get it out there because the statistics show that it doesn't matter too much. All right, I had just 2 more things and then I'll be open for questions. So I did just want to remind you, because I didn't go over it, I am not here for your legalness and I don't want you to go to jail or spam jail. You do need to understand the can spam, whatever law out there. If you're using like KV Core, like they have it there that they can unsubscribe. But when you're sending emails out, like if you do a mass email out with Gmail, there is a law that says you have to unsubscribe. So this class is not talking about the legals of email. So make sure you're looking anything up or making sure that you're compliant. But I will tell you, you need to let people be able to unsubscribe. And you don't want to like buy any email lists. And like the perfect example was I was part of a virtual summit for real estate agents. And the host was like, you can teach your class and you can have your lead magnet. That's, you know, how I'm going to get in contact with other agents because I love helping build businesses and additional opportunities for training. And then she was like, and I'll give you the email list of all the attendees. So I hosted my class and I had 150 people signed up for my lead magnet because it was about events, which was really great. And then she sent me the email list and it was 800 emails and I deleted it. Why? Because they either didn't come to my class, we didn't connect, they didn't want the information. Like it is pointless to be emailing people if they really didn't want it. And so when you're building your audience and things like that, like generally, like, do they want that information? Then that's valid for your audience. I would have either gotten spammed or unsubscribed highly because I never connected to them. And if you guys have been to any real estate events, do you ever go and then a couple days later, you get something from a vendor that you never stopped at? I unsubscribe because there's nothing wrong with them. Like I didn't connect with you. It's not what I wanted in my business. And they do things different, but it's just a reminder of like, it's not about how many email subscribers you can get. It's about quality and building it up from there. And then the last piece I kind of touched based on, but eventually like start emailing. That is your goal. And then eventually you do want to try to see if you can watch your analytics. I do, KV Core does have it up and coming that they're going to be able to give better reports of what your emails and campaigns are doing. So that's coming. And if you do have any other platform, just try to keep track of open rates, click rates, or of course, are you getting that buyer or seller? Because then that's a really good email and you want to continue that. And then lastly, I am here. I love to collaborate. So if you have more questions, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can email me. If you're like stuck on something, please be my friend. Reach out. I would be happy to help. I'm here. I love collaboration. I love helping agents. And that's a wrap.
Thank you, Laura. This was so good. It's so overwhelming, like what you said, you know, in the beginning, all the different platforms. And I've seen that too. And I will say, that's the biggest mistake I've made in the last 9 years is, you know, email. Like it's just because it's overwhelming. I do send emails out to people, but haven't really used it as much as I should. But I've seen all the platforms change too. Like you just don't even know what to do anymore. They're like, don't do long videos, do short videos. YouTube wants shorts. No, shorts, you're getting penalized because you're doing shorts now. Now you got to do longs. And if you do a long, now you got to do a Facebook Live. It's so hard to keep up.
Well, and going back to, I know I gave a lot of information, so I want to end is like your most important thing is understanding your audience and grouping them, because then you can communicate with them really, really easy with however that looks. And that's the step 1. And you have that in KV Core. And then from there, you know, work on campaigns that fit or emails and grow it from there.
I love it.
Questions, thoughts, comments? What's that?
Do you have any groups that you're running or anything like that?
Any groups that I'm running?
Like Facebook groups for realtor marketing or anything like that?
No.
Okay. That's
a whole nother ball game. Very good one. It doesn't really interest me. I know there's success from any kind of lead generation when you do it at a high level. no, that is not mine right now. Mine is the database, the events, and then the email has helped me a lot. And then I'm including hybrid farming this year, where I was already doing events and inviting them, and I want to do a little bit more postcard and inviting to the local events too. So that's what I'm adding in.
Like that.
But really, I find like your basics work. Like, find your 2 to 3 things and go hard and do it well, and the business comes.
Love it.
More thoughts, questions? Are you amped to write an email?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Is it clear? You have any questions, any reservations? I'd love to help you so that you feel confident leaving this and being like, I can do this.